Hello and welcome to another episode of Football Pundits. It's been a long season of English football, and there's a few big things that we've learned this season. And Animesh and I are going to break these down with our highlights or the biggest talking points were the ones to look out for. We're going to start with the biggest one, obviously, and it's Liverpool. You cannot discuss this season without discussing Liverpool. So, Annie, tell me, obviously, there's been this whole talk about
Yep.
Liverpool first being the greatest team ever, then it condensed to rivals having a pop at them. But what do you make of this?
I mean, we obviously knew they're not the greatest team ever, and yeah, people will think it's a biased Manchester United fan opinion. But simply put, to be the greatest team ever, you need to be consistent, play across all three formats. But now putting some merit to Jurgen Klopp and his men, looking at the way he's turned the side around in the 4 seasons that he's been here, he's built season on season, right? They won the Europa final, Champions League final, won the Champions League, lost out the league by 1 point, now won the league by that margin, which they eventually did, right? Again, no, not the greatest Premier League side ever, obviously, but enough merit, man. Look at the way he's actually broken that squad apart and put it back together. Look at he didn't take big name signings apart. I think from Virgil van Dijk, who was a defender to look out for when they did sign him. Sadio Mane, maybe yes again, but Salah was a bit of a risk, right? He was doing well at Roma that one season, kind of like Pepe was doing for. Uh, I forgot where he came from. Kind of what Pepe
Lille.
was doing. Yeah,
Lille, yeah.
Lille, right? And so, yes, you need to look at Liverpool because if you take this side now into the next season, can they build on this? I don't know, but let's focus on this season. Good performance. Even when your striker, your number nine, gets only one goal at home in the last game of the season, when your holding midfielders have had an issue, all of them with injuries, with consistency, to win the league title despite these issues, I think it's a good one.
Yeah, so I think that's the first talking point then for me. Right? The first thing that we've learned this season is that the bar is set really high. Liverpool have obviously, knocked it out of the park with records. Biggest lead at the top when they had the 25-point lead. Most number of home wins in a row, earliest title win, most points won, in the first 30 matches, most victories in a season, most home wins in a season. That's a lot of things done. And even then, it's like, hey, you know what? They could have done more. So I think that's why I'm saying the bar is just set so high. Because
You're
even the
actually
season
right.
before,
Yeah.
City and Liverpool, like Liverpool, the points they got the season before, any season before that, they would have won. Right. So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
those two teams set the bar so high. And I think these stats were over the 90s and the 2000s to now. The gap between the top team and the bottom team is actually increased. And you wouldn't think that with the amount of money that the lower teams are getting now,
Yeah.
but if you see an Aston Villa spent 110 million, it's not that far away from what the top teams
Fulham,
are spending.
Fulham last year spent 100 and they went
Exactly,
down.
Fulham last season. Yeah. So the amount of money that's coming into the league, you'd think it would get a lot more competitive, but the bar is just being raised so much higher. So I think that's the first thing we've learned this season is that the bar is
The
set
bar is
so
set,
high that
honestly,
maybe right
set
now,
very high. Honestly, you know why? Because you're right. Only thing that happened different between last season and this season is that City dropped out of that same point ratio, right?
yeah,
Liverpool probably just finished those 2 points higher, which they struggled with last year, and they sealed the title. City just peeled away, right? So Liverpool maintained that
yeah.
consistency.
Yeah, and so I think right now, if teams really want to go out and prove themselves a great team, they have to win two trophies a season. I don't think just winning the Premier League cuts it anymore, does it? Which is so weird. I mean, winning the Premier League is a
Yeah,
big thing.
I think for Liverpool fans, it cut it because 30-year wait and whatnot and stuff. And if you
Yeah,
know, at one point of time, they were very confident of winning pretty much all of it. Okay, not all of it. I'm being too harsh because I wanted to look that way. But I think they were confident of at least winning one of the cups along with the Premier League, right? So, yeah, it is. And I think it's
yeah,
because we've seen earlier sides like Manchester United and City themselves under Pep who've done it. It's not impossible to keep to compete in all fronts with a limited squad. I'm talking about United. I'm not talking about Man City. Man City is something different, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so that I think is the biggest document that the bar is set too high. And the second one for me, which is an all-time love-hate relationship that you love to see and you also hate to see at points, is Jose Mourinho and the Premier League.
Hey, hey, hey.
As a United fan, I was honestly glad when we finally parted ways because of everything that happened. But the Premier League is just not the same without him, man. When he came to the Tottenham Hotspur side, all of us were happy. I was happy that he's not in my team, but I'm happy to see him in the Tottenham Hotspur dugout, especially when he gives you gold. Like those moments where there's that whole thing where, there's that foul occurred and then Mourinho was just animated, overtly animated.
Right,
Referee gave the decision in his favor. He went back and sat down.
right.
Then his assistant came to him, showed him the screen, said, "Hey, that should have been a second in, and that guy should have
And
got
he
sent off."
just
And suddenly Mourinho's
runs.
like, "Oh yeah, shit, you're right," and he just started running and started hounding the referee again. Those are things you love to see. But
Yeah.
is Mourinho still relevant in the base of things in the Premier League?
Turn the best thing, okay, the most ironic thing that would have happened actually did. This is the best time you see Spurs have a documentary called All or Nothing coming. That is Jose. That is Jose Mourinho. He's all or nothing. We've seen him now evolve over the years as a manager from Porto to where he is now after stopping back in Chelsea, going to Italy, coming to Spain. That guy's all or nothing. He gives everything,
Yeah,
or he's like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to blame the players. I'm going to blame the manager. I'm out of here. Or he's all out in
yeah,
the press. He's going at it. He's going to take on every single FA. He didn't shy away when he was in the La Liga. Did not shy away in Italy at all. And he took digs at Juventus so many times. And he definitely is never shied away in the Premier League. Even under Spurs, where we find him to be a little more mellow, he's not given up. He's still going at it, whatever he feels. His Bruno Fernandes comment right now. You feel he's starting off with commenting his fellow Portuguese, countrymen, but right in the end, that dig, right? And that's classic Mourinho. But what people are saying is wrong. The guy is not done. Are we glad to see the back of him as Manchester United fans? Yes. Looking at what we're seeing now, especially, of course, we are. But to say that he's a dinosaur, again, at your own peril, man, you never know with a fit Harry Kane, with 2, 3 changes in the summer, what this guy can do, right? Because he has something right now to prove, which he's not had to prove in any side he's joined himself. It's always been about earlier Mourinho will get Champions League. Now it's come to will Mourinho even get anything for himself out of this
mm,
side? And it's come with a guy like a Daniel Levy who's always been spoken about sometimes as a great businessman, but sometimes as a very shrewd, seedy-ish kind of guy. So I think together that might
yeah,
not blow up like people assume, that might actually help each other reach the next level.
yeah. So I think when you said the all or nothing thing, there's just one thing. When Mourinho signed for Tottenham, if there was anyone who was the happiest on the planet, it was the Amazon Prime guys.
Of
The Prime
course.
Video team would have been ecstatic that they're now getting all access to Jose Mourinho. And there's been leaked videos online already, which are hilarious. So, I mean, I personally
No, basically,
obviously
Kern,
think,
it'll
say
be
to your
the
parents,
the first half will be Arsenal fan TV, but with credibility.
yeah. Oh man, I think so. I definitely think so. I honestly am one of those guys who thinks that, maybe Jose Mourinho is a dinosaur, but as you said, say it at my own peril. The only reason I say it is because I think his tactics are very outdated. Yeah, I think teams at the top can no longer go and play the same football which he does, because again, there's these reports where, or these studies rather, where how football has changed. And now, if you notice, there's only two kinds of football teams. There's no longer a match between two teams who are attacking each other. It's always one team that sits, the other team that attacks. And how do you break the low block? So possession percentages have changed drastically again over the last 20 years, where the top 70 and the bottom 30%, there's actually more teams, more games with that gulf coming. So in
Yeah,
all that
yeah,
sense, I think Jose Mourinho as a top team manager, not that fun to watch, maybe a dinosaur, but yeah, say it at your own peril.
yep.
Uh, the one thing that I think we can all say for sure, with no doubt, is that VAR is shambolic. That is the
Oh,
third thing that we've learned
I,
this season. VAR
I,
is shambolic.
I didn't expect you to go there directly, but like I heard VR, I'm like, it's I don't know. This is what happens. I'm like, what word do I use? Where do I draw the character limit there? Right on like Twitter. Okay. Look, yes, it was going to be a bit of an issue. Trial error is how you make a system work, right? Doesn't mean you don't implement the system. We all called for it for years, right? You were like these offside rules where a player is a mile offside and it's not given, it's so unfair. And But what we saw after the restart, especially, it's not like it's not happened before the restart, but after the restart was just a mess. How can you have three similar tackles in the same game week, one day apart? Referees are looking at this. They have referees report for a reason. They share this data. How can like an NK be a red card in the same game when a Wadi can't? Next day Tarkowski does something else, doesn't get even noticed. What is going on? Let's not go
And
to the
Romeo on Greenwood as well, same tackle.
let's not go into the handball rule. Let's not even go there. Like let's that is we
No.
all know and we all agree the accident handball rule when an attacker is falling down to protect his face. I am not saying Paul Pogba. That was still stupid, Pogba. Please don't do that ever again.
No,
I am
really.
talking about Lucas Moura. What? Okay, I get it. Like no one thought about all these scenarios. But what are you doing then? You're paid to do this. You're paid to think. You're paid to formulate. What are you doing? And
It's the biggest league in the world. As simple as that. It's the biggest league in the world. You need to get these basic things right. The whole point was clear and obvious errors. And then you come into whether you're taking 8, 8, 9 minute stoppages to see that minutest of thing. If you're going down to that brass tacks, clearly one, it's not clear and obvious errors. Two, the whole point of VAR, Annie, correct me if I'm wrong, was basically to remove errors from game and remove these talking points of referee errors. But here we are at the end of the season, and it's become a bigger talking point, if nothing else.
John,
It's
I'm
shambolic.
going
Like, I
to do
mean,
a silent guessing thing for you, and you guess what I'm saying because I've been saying it all season. Okay, the game stops.
referee goes to the side of the screen. Yeah,
Just
let the
just just
referee,
just do
let the
that.
on-field referee.
Yeah, just do that, right? Why is a pitch side monitor there? What is we saw it working like very well in the World Cup. Why don't you just adopt something which worked? Why do you meddle with it so much and you broke it down to what we have? My God.
Yeah. So I think that's what we. So obviously we are a shambolic. The change that I think I completely agree with you. The change that is needed is pitch side monitors, and I hope once that comes in, because then the referee himself can see whether it was a clear and obvious error on his part or
No,
not.
no, they have to change
I
the
mean,
whole
then all of that
policy.
is gone.
Yeah, the policy has to change because it's there, but he clearly can't keep using it. There are only some areas where he can go. What is the point? Like, why you even have it then? Why don't you decide everything or let him decide to go change? It's simple. It saves time, right? So, what we have learned, I think, is VAR is an abomination, but has its
Yeah.
merits because there were a lot of goals which earlier Aubameyang against Arsenal, right? That was onside.
Yeah.
It was given offside incorrectly with Maguire. Clearly, Miles keeping so it has worked in a lot of
Yeah.
instances. Overall, it's still been 60
Agree.
40 positive, but yeah, I don't know. Tell me your closing point for that.
No, I completely agree. So when I had the opportunity to go to the stadium for a couple of games this season. All of them had some VR talking points. As a fan in the stadium, at least earlier, with the idea of VR, it was like, you know what, if it's a wrong decision, VR will overturn it. So at least a fan who doesn't have the luxury of watching the replays on screen when I'm in the stadium, it was sort of heartening that chalo, the correct decision will be given in the end. If it's offside, it'll be given, stuff like that. So yeah, so the idea of it is great. The execution of it is terrible. Clearly, pitch side monitors is what both of us feel will be the thing that corrects this. My last talking point, the things that we've learned from this season, which is not something that we've learned, is basically that Arsenal never change. This
Yeah, man.
season that they've had, I mean, they started with signing Pepe and then that forward line of Pepe, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ozil. Like, it was, oh my God. Ceballos, when he came in, we were like, dude, Arsenal are going to absolutely kill it this season. And then they had the most Arsenal season that was possible. But in the end, they went and they won a cup. And now they're in the Europa League. Like, how?
That's like you said it. They did the most Arsenal thing possible. They had a season within a season, like they've managed to since the last 2 years of Arsene Wenger's reign. And this is where somewhere I criticize Arsenal a lot only because I keep telling you that it's a club I wouldn't mind succeeding, although I wouldn't want them to, is Arsenal because they have a way they play football, which as a football fan you cannot hate. It's uh, it's good to watch, right? It's a good attacking play you watch. Coming to this season again, Unai Emery after Pepe and all the promise, Emery was sacked. You had a defense which looked good and looked like a Steel and David Luiz, and they did the most Luiz thing ever by literally going downhill, downhill, downhill to almost not wanting to start under Arteta to Arteta literally not wanting to start him against City in the first game after the restart.
Took 3 injuries to get him on.
Three injuries to get him on. He got himself sent off. He almost didn't get a contract,
Yeah.
but then they gave it to him. He even came out and said, "Okay, I don't blame the club. I blame me. I'm at fault. It's my bad. I'm not in the right space." And then he actually stood up against, unlike any Arsenal player we've seen, and he made a difference. He did a good job. Arsenal
in the
fans have
FA Cup.
rightly pointed out that he was pivotal for them in the FA Cup. He probably will be the man of the tournament for them in those last two games. And they were Man City in peak
Is
form and a resurgent Chelsea.
is in that sense, I'm sorry to cut you, but just because on that point, I just realized something. David Luiz is the epitome of Arsenal. I think David Luiz this season has epitomized Arsenal this season in
Yeah,
so many weird ways. And this is why things like Arsenal fan TV will just never go out, right? Because they do keep doing these things. I mean, how are Arsenal so? And despite all of these things done, they in some ways have basically done what Spurs have this season. They've somehow now managed to have a better season than Wolves, who are absolutely killing it. Then Sheffield United, who are killing it, who
yeah,
now both of them don't have Europe, but Arsenal
yeah.
do, and they have a trophy.
Exactly. I was just about to say in our team of the weeks, we had like Ruben Neves and Moutinho considering, right? Instead of NDD, no Arsenal player, maybe Aubameyang. Just in the end, they managed to sneak in. And that should honestly tell you something about not just Arteta. We won't get too much into this episode, I think, here. But he's done a good enough job in a short time. But it's not Arteta, right? Other they have won FA Cups in bad seasons earlier. I should tell you that they have that mentality to see it through in a cup competition, which is important to note because Manchester United historically in the last 15 years hasn't been too great going into those cup semi-finals. Either they've taken it very lightly with squad selections even under Ferguson, or they tend to do something moronic in the semi-finals or the finals and not
Yeah,
see it through. And
yeah.
again, there Arsenal have just got those wins, right? And we can't explain how.
Somehow, yeah.
It's been manager changes. It's been players who are their stars who not performed, but they show up in the time when it matters and they get the truck. It's done.
Crazy. Yeah. It's absolutely crazy, man. I think Arsenal are just such a joy to have in the league because they just the graphs are just all over the place, man. But yeah, I think that's the last talking point for me,
Yeah,
at
I
least,
think
from what we've learned this season.
we've just gone on and on here,
We've
but yeah,
obviously we've gone on and on, but they've just been such massive talking points. And we'd love to know what you guys think. What are the other talking points that you think,
yeah,
came off from this season of English football? Maybe we pick it up in another episode. Maybe we just have fun in the comments on Twitter. All of the links are here in the chat, in the bios, and everywhere else. But we look forward to seeing you next. We're going to
yeah.
come up with some more videos. We're going to do some previews to the European football that's resuming, and a lot more. So see you guys soon.
See you guys.